Don't call my Africa a moron. After stealing it mean poisoning its food, laziness its resources, and made it to look poor. Like a shark's mouth, my Africa, you can make it still colonized even today. Africa, you are now monotonous with fake agent of colonization. Look what colonization have done to your bright thought. I didn't know that if was last during your lifetime. Africa, your mind is still colonized even today. This poem by Jackie Spinky Mataya talk about the European colonizing Africa, but European also colonized many other places, one of them being Southeast Asia. Today we will talk about the European colonization of Southeast Asia and how it affects this region.
During the 1500s to 1600s, Europeans colonized a lot of Asia. The Europeans were very strong and had gone on many expeditions around the world. Portugal was one of the countries that had colonized some parts of Southeast Asia. They colonized East Timor and some parts of Indonesia. They were even the first ones to dominate trade. Moving on to Spain. In 1525 to 1536, Spanish expeditions led to them claiming the Philippines. This was all due to Magellan, who reached the Philippines in 1521 and led the first circumnavigation in 1519. Later, though, Philippines gained their independence, but was then taken over by the US. Now, the Dutch were different from the previous countries talked about. They didn't colonize for political rule, but for resources like spices and trading. From 1605 to 1799, the Dutch East India Company, or VOC, was colonizing Indonesia, and they had arrived there in 1596. But later, the company was lost to the Netherlands government. The British were also a very strong force. They had forcefully conquered Burma from 1826 to 1888 in 3 wars, and had set up Singapore as a port in 1819. In 1948, though, Burma had gained their independence from the British. From 1874 to 1914, the British slowly spread their rule throughout the Malaysian peninsula and took over many parts. Later, in 1963, Malacca, Singapore, and Penang became a part of Malaysia, but Singapore decided to pull out in 1965. Lastly, France had also had a huge influence, and maybe the biggest. From 1600s to 1700s, the French had exchanged embassies with Siam, which is now Thailand. They had also took control of Vietnam in 1858 and used the south as a base. They kept spreading, and by 1907, they made Indochina, which had 5 places under French rule: Laos, Tonkin, Annam, and Cambodia. But in 1946, the Vietnamese got their independence from France. Thailand was a very special place, though. It was the only country that stayed independent from all these countries despite having small parts of it taken. So basically, the Europeans had colonized many places within Asia, and because of this, could control much of the trading, giving them a lot of profit.
People believe that the possible motives for this mass colonization are broken down into 3 parts: political, economical, and cultural reasons. Political reasons include inter-European competition, status as a world power, nationalism, and an increase in military might. Back in the 1500s, there was an unspoken competition between the countries in Europe for power. They believed that to show their power, they had to colonize as many countries as they could. This led to the Age of Exploration and the Age of Colonization, which led them to colonize Southeast Asia. Another political reason could be that they needed more people as soldiers, and the easiest way to do so was to use people from other nations. Economical reasons are comprised of new trading markets, the increase of profit, gaining raw materials such as metal and land, and a sea route. Since the time of the spice trade, Europeans had always wanted to find a sea route to Southeast Asia for trading. They also wanted to use the untouched resources of the region for creating products during the Industrial Revolution in the 1800s, and to sell their products, they needed a market, which would become Southeast Asia. Cultural reasons involve spreading Christianity and the white man's burden. The Europeans believed that the whites were supreme beings and that their duties were to govern and civilize non-whites. Christianity also played a big role in colonization, since Christians believed it was their duties to spread the religion. These are the possible reasons why the Europeans colonized Southeast Asia.
Effect, we know that every country have effect. First, we start at the economic growth is because of industrialization period. For example, Singapore and Burma. Singapore is successful because Singapore have better place for trade. Burma, they have roads where trade all across the world. Let's talk about and sustainability. Each country to make a good place to live or had to exploit the natural resources. Another type of effect are cultural effects. During and after the colonization of Southeast Asia, the region was involved in more economic activities, recalling more labor, which led to more people doing more work. Many immigrants from China and India also came to this region to look for new jobs, which make many countries multicultural. The education taught people about liberty, equality, and naturalism, well as improved people literacy. Lastly, the spread of Christianity made more people, especially in the Philippines and Indonesia, convert to the religion. Political effect includes nationalism. People fight for their independence, reason because religion and culture movement, and another effect is cause of law change from a traditional kingdom to a modern state. In conclusion, the colonization of Southeast Asia was done over a long period of time by many European countries. The reasons for this period are separated into three parts: political, economical, and cultural. The effects of these events still show today through the growth of Southeast Asia economies and the decline of sustainability in the region.